I'ma say what I feel, and I promise to keep it real. Welcome to the Rant Room.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Hilliard Guess. You guys are tuned in to the Screenwriters Rant Room. And we keep it real, we keep it opinionated, we keep it what, everybody? Game all day! Yeah. Y'all know how we do it. So first of all, I want to thank the Micheaux Film Festival for having us. Thank you guys for having us. We appreciate y'all. So if you guys are grown, we're going to jump on in. So today, I'm Hilliard Guess, a writer, producer, myself. I'm going to go down the line, starting with my man, my co-host, Denzel Whitaker. Jump on in, who you is and stuff like that.
Who I is. What's going on, everybody? I'm Denzel Whitaker, co-host of today's session. You already know, actor, filmmaker. Happy to be here. This is my big brother right here. What's up, man? Yes, sir. Passing it on, popcorn.
Pass the Dutchie over there.
I'm Pamela Azmi-Andrew, writer, producer, and casting director. Wow, what a half minute. But anyways, and also partners to Hilliard Guess, my producing and writing partner, and EP of the Screenwriters Rant.
All right, yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Simone Harris and I'm a producer and TV executive at Proximity Media. Excited to be here.
Hello everybody, my name is Carl Seaton and I am a director.
So today, let me ask you guys a quick question. How many of you guys are writers? Directors? Actors? How many filmmakers? See, everybody's ready. Okay, good. I want to know who we're talking to up in here. That's what's up. So I'm going to start right here. So this show, the podcast, and I'm going to have Carl tell you guys a little something too, which is funny. So this podcast started over 11 years ago. We're on 12 years of this particular show. Thank you. It's an extension of, there's a couple different things. So there's a couple versions of the show. People may or may not know. We did 10 episodes on a previous podcast. And I used to be in a room talking to Pamela, and she'd be like, you need to get off of that, you need to do your own shit.
EP business.
Yes, indeed. And so I did 10 episodes with my friend Lisa Bocaja on a whole other thing. And Pamela, we were in her living room, and she was like, what do you need? And I was like, I need this and this and this. She's like, bitch, go. And boom, that's how we started. But it's an extension of what I used to teach at the Organization of Black Screenwriters and at the Writers Guild. And I would do these presentations where I would talk about like how I did stuff, like how I got a script to Sundance, how I sold my first feature film, like how I, did this or that. What I found that I did different than other people were doing was I would tell you how I did it. So everybody else is like, oh, I moved to LA, I got an agent, and this thing happened. I'm like, motherfucker, how did you do it? Right? So that was an extension of my show. So I would say, here's how I got a script to here, here's what I did, here's what I did wrong. Here's how I got a star in my movie. Here's how I, got this production value. Here's how I got, this location, like all these different things I would do that I felt like nobody else was doing. They only were talking about how they got there and they skipped over all the details, you know what I mean? So that's really what my show was really about, is the how. So Carl, the reason why I want you to jump in, see, I was telling Carl offline, I was like, I'm always running into young cats, young filmmakers going, oh, Carl Seaton told me to tune in. So talk about that right quick. That's funny.
First of all, I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I've been a huge fan of the podcast for years. And I tell Hill all the time, man, he literally gives out tools and insight for a lot of writers, and not just writers, but filmmakers as well, on how to navigate these very murky waters. So I insist everybody, if you haven't listened to the podcast, you got literally hundreds of episodes to listen to, and you can learn something from each one of them. Because we're all always growing, always learning, always consider yourself a sponge, always open yourself up, remain open to learning and getting more knowledge. And this podcast is a great place to start, especially as a writer of color. There's a different way you have to navigate, there's certain lessons you have to learn and incorporate into your craft, and it's a great place to go to. And every Sunday night he's dropping one, so it's like comfort food now. Where every Monday morning, like, okay, I got a Screenwriters Rant Room episode is going to come out. Sometimes it doesn't matter if you know the person or not. You just learn their story and listen to what they're saying, because usually they are dropping a lot of insight, a lot of jewels that can definitely help you out specifically.
Thank you, thank you. And we plan to drop some bombs for you guys today. We only have a solid hour, so it's going to go quick. So let's jump on in. I'm going to start with my man D on the side. Let's tell everybody, I'm curious about this. So here we are. We're at the film festival. We got all these filmmakers here. You just had a film, you know, that just freaking killed. Y'all know, y'all seen Brand New. Give them some love.
And if you haven't, go check it out right now. It's on ALLBLK, streaming for the next 2 years. Brand new, check it out, check it out.
So D, the thing I love about D is not only is he an amazing actor, he's also an amazing filmmaker. And you know I'm your biggest advocate. Always trying to push him to get, you know, to get some episodic TV directing and some movies and stuff like that. So let's tell everybody about how you made your transition. And you're still an actor, but how you were able to, you know, move over to behind the screen and stuff like that. Okay, that's enough.
Nah, the transition is a part of it. I think is divine intervention. So I have to give credit where credit's due. I've had some wonderful mentors in my life. Hilliard would be one of them. But you know, prior to that, I worked with some seasoned directors and actors, and you know, being on their set, asking questions, following them around, taking a notebook, just being curious. And that curiosity led to, forgive the name drop, I'm working on Great Debaters. Denzel Washington is kind of, don't go there. Working on Great Debaters, he sort of, you know, looks at me and he can see the curiosity and he's like, man, bring a notebook every single day, pull up your chair next to mine, I'm gonna teach you what I know. You know, he invites me to the editing bay. Next thing I'm working with Gavin O'Connor on Warrior, or I'm working with like Werner Herzog and Nick Cage, and I'm asking a lot of questions. And this is, you know, when I'm in high school, getting ready to graduate, and I'm asking myself, as well as my parents and everybody around me, what are you gonna do next? You know, how are you gonna make this a full-time career? And I always just loved making movies. So now fast forward, even, you know, now where I find myself with the project Brand New, or 5150 that we did with David Aiello and Giovanna Depo, there, as an actor, sometimes you sit back waiting for the phone to ring, and I have a problem with that. And I'm sure a lot of you do as well. For everybody who raised your hands, especially the actors in the room who identify as a filmmaker, I'm sure you've all had problems with waiting for the phone to ring. Because unfortunately, sometimes that phone doesn't ring for several months. And then you're like, well, what the fuck do I do? Especially if I love this thing. So you find yourself wanting to make projects and get your friends involved. And that's, you know, I'll just speak to Brand New because it's the most recent. I wanted to get my friends involved. I think my friends are talented. We've all been in the business since we were kids. You know, one of my buddies, Maestro, his name is Micheaux. He's one of the most gifted individuals I know. He's been working since he was 4, and yet he's still fighting to impress casting directors and producers and studios, and it's like, well, why do we have to fight when we have all of the tools next to us? And so, you know, like, we wrote a script, he crafted the music, we went and got Chris Lofton, who's on Ballers right now. We put together a whole team. I just worked with Chad Coleman, and it was like, let's just do the work. So that's how I find myself on both sides of the camera, is sometimes you're put in a corner and you just gotta go. You wanna keep doing the thing you love.
I love that, I love that. Some game in there, right? That's what's up. So, Pamela, let's talk about, you're still a casting director, but let's talk about your transition from being a casting director into writing and producing. That people don't know, you're already doing all those things anyway, but let's just tell your story a little bit.
So, I started as talent first, actually. Casting director is my second job. I was down at a time in my life where I was taking some time off. I was having a second kid, I was bored, and a friend of my roommate at the time was a casting director. So I would go in and just hang out and see what they do. Fell in love with it. Went on to become, I was an assistant, I was an associate, I was a partner, I did all the steps. One of the things I learned from transitioning your career is learn the business that you're in. The business doesn't work if you don't understand what everybody else does. If you don't understand how casting directors work, how can you really go after being an actor? I never understood that. So I was the type, I always wanted to learn everything. At another point, as a casting director, and being the person that sells the roles to the stars, not to audition us, but people don't realize we have to sell the role to the Angelina Jolies, and they don't just say yes. We have to make them want to do it. In that, I had to know the characters in the scripts pretty much as well as the directors and the writers. So with that transition, I started being asked to do script coverage for different directors and writers who were at the final stages of their script. I would read it and said, well, you know, there's not enough here for a star to do. Well, they're on every page. That don't mean a thing. She ain't doing nothing. You know what I mean? Why does this person who has a resume as long as their arm want to do this role? So I learned that. In all the script coverage, actually, when I met Hilliard, one of the first things he did was show me a couple of his scripts. I did script coverage for him. He turned to me one day and he said, "You do realize you're a writer, right?" And I was like, "I ain't no writer. I don't know nothing about no final draft. I ain't never gonna learn." I just knew who I was, right? No, I did not. I realized I had more to give. And it came to play as the casting thing started to be less fulfilling for me because, you know, we don't get to choose what roles or what shows. I'm looking over here and I want to do the Steven Spielberg movies, but I'm getting, you know, so I'm like, how do I get to cast the movies I want to cast and make those stars I want to do instead of just offering it to the next star? So I said, okay, writing is the thing. That's where it became fulfilling for me. And so the writing went on to producing, which means, you know, you got to make it happen. So I learned the producing side of it, how to get the film done, how to get the TV show done. You have to know these things in order to have a hyphenate. I laugh sometimes when I see hyphenates because I have one conversation with them. I'm like, you ain't know. Because you know, if you're asking me stuff, you should already know. You know what I mean? And you just kind of realize where you fall short by watching other people. Well, that all being said, it brought me to screenwriting, which I love as well, because I'm able to make these characters that I don't get to cast. I produce because then I get to cast them if I want to. Now, the other trick is I don't believe being everything. You know what I mean? If I feel like my strongest thing on my project is to stay the producer, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to go hire one of my friends as a casting director who I knew was killing it and do that. I'm going to get I'm going to have my fingertips on it, but I'm not going to try to do everything. And a lot of times when you work with independent filmmakers, they're so used to doing everything. They don't realize where they're falling short and why casting is important. If that's not your lane, bro, you ain't doing your best work. Get somebody that's what all they're about. The same thing with writing and producing. I don't believe in doing it all. So I saw a lot of filmmaker hands, and I hope that means you don't plan to always do all of it. Because you have a superpower, as Hilliard would say. What is your superpower? You know, mine is character. My superpower is every script I write, all my characters are strong because I can't stand my waiter. People be like, oh, I'll do the waiter because he cool. I like how I don't care if you have one scene. You have to bring it for me. So I'm character strong. That is my superpower as a writer. You know, think about what's your superpower as a writer because you're not going to be excellent at all of it. You know what I mean? But there's going to be that one thing that sets you apart from everybody else. I cover?
Yeah. Simone, let's talk to you for a second about from the executive side. You know, how did you become executive from the point, and how did you move over to proximity? How did that happen?
Yeah, I have a wild start in that I was in finance. So I graduated college, I was at a job where I was in Excel sheets for 12 hours a day, crashed out very quickly in my 20s and realized I wanted to do something creative and something else. So I guess my advice and kind of what I did was don't be afraid to reach out. So I found my way into the page program at NBC, which was like, you know, you got exposure to different parts of the business, and that was kind of my toe into the door. And then from there, got to unscripted, and that started with me reaching out to someone on LinkedIn who like went to my university like years before, but happened to do the program, and then it kind of started from there. And then when I got to LA and unscripted, I was working at E! News, so you know it's a news show but in entertainment, so it was adjacent to what I wanted to be doing, and I wasn't afraid to raise my hand for like doing coverage. You know, like there was a script my boss for some reason had to read even though we were in unscripted, and I'm like, I can do that, I can write that up. And then when I went to interview for my very first job in scripted, I could say I've done coverage, even though I had done it twice. Like I had done it, and I think they saw that initiative and were like, okay, even though she doesn't have a normal background or a traditional one, we see something there. And how I literally, because I like what you said about telling them how we did it, how I got that interview. I met a guy, now my boyfriend, and he had went to USC Film School. A colleague of his, a former classmate, was replacing themselves on a desk, a scripted desk at Big Beach, this indie film, TV and production company. I was like, I'm actually trying to get into scripted, even though we just met, and he put my resume in the pile. So it's like, don't be afraid to say what you want and what you're looking for, and then when you get that chance, you have to show up. Because everyone says it's who you know, but that only gets you so far. Who you know will get you in the door, but then you have to show up in that meeting and make them understand and how your experience translates to what they need and all of that. So that's kind of how I got my first foot into scripted. That was on the indie side of things, producing. Then I went to an independent studio called MediaRes, and then that's how I ended up at Proximity. I think it's kind of like a little bit divine timing in the sense that like all the stars aligned with like my experience, what they were looking for at that moment, and then again showing up in the meeting and convincing them like why they should pick you out of all the people who want to work there.
I'll say before I jump to Carl, I just want to say this one thing right quick. Hey, Simone. Just want to say this one thing right quick. So I talk about this a lot with a lot of my mentees, is this. You're going to meet people like you see up here on this panel, and you're going to be like, oh my God, how can I get them my script, or et cetera, et cetera. You guys are here at one of the best film festivals right now. Somebody in this room may make it. Your job is to figure out which one, and to be a part of them. Somebody in here can probably direct their ass off. That's why they're in this festival, right? They're trying to make this like a Black Sundance. This is just going to be, it's going to be tight, right? So you don't always need to come up here. They're right there. You want to build that team with the people who are right here with you first. The last thing I'll say is, on this, before I jump to Carl, is one thing that happens a lot is, how many times have you been in a situation where you know somebody who's a showrunner, an executive like Simone or something like that, and you want to get, you hear that they're staffing a show, but it's not the type of show you write. We talk about this a lot, Micheaux, don't we? We do. But one of my mentees over here. So here's one of the things that I always say. When you bring value is when you have a superpower. So when you are able to go, oh, I know Carl is now about to do this new show, or Simone's staffing a new show that takes place in Chicago with such and such, and I grew up in the South Side, now you see your superpower? That's coming with power. But if you just are like, oh, I write comedy, and I just want to work with you, that's not right. You know, you're wasting your time. You need to bring value, especially today. The rooms are so small. If you don't bring the value, you are not getting in the room. You know what I mean? So just be thinking about that. Carl, let's talk to you a little bit about your transition, because I think you have an amazing story. You are one of those people who really succeeded in the episodic game, but it wasn't an easy road. Can we just talk about that road right quick a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So I am from the south side of Chicago.
That's why I said that. See that?
Started off as an independent filmmaker making no-budget films, you know what I'm saying, and writing. Because one thing I did was, if you can, I would say go find Spike's first 5 books. His book, because he chronicles each film, he puts them into a book form basically. How he makes You Gotta Have It, School Days, Do the Right Thing, Jungle Fever, going all the way up to Malcolm X. It's actually 6 books. And in those books, he kind of journals and talks about, you know, his road to becoming an established director. And one of the biggest things he said that stood out was writing creates jobs. It literally creates jobs out of nowhere. So if you don't consider yourself a writer, that's okay. Write something that's shitty. But make sure you let somebody that reads it and gives you notes on it to make it be less shit. Hey, Leanne, how you doing?
Hi.
My script soup from BMF. And lovely actress from BMF, Bree is here as well. Anyway, good getting back to this, guys. Yeah, so my journey from doing independent filmmaking and transitioning out to Los Angeles, as Pam said earlier, you know, I didn't know anything about the business. You know, film school really taught me about close-up and cameras and things like that, but the business was foreign to me. So I had to get out here and totally relearn or not even relearn, but to learn from scratch the nature of the business and how to maneuver, the language to speak, to be hired, to make yourself hireable. So there's a lot of ways to learn. I would say this information is way more it's way more available to you now than it was before. So I would just say make sure you know the business of the business, because that's very important when you're in a room meeting with someone, because they can sit across from you and tell if you are quote unquote ready for an opportunity or not. So you always make sure you are as ready for an opportunity as possible. And knowing the business is the foundation of that. That comes even before your creative, your creative traits and your creative skills. So knowing the business is really important. But my transition started with, like I said, I did a no-budget film that did pretty well in film festivals back in the day. Establishing a relationship.
You were here.
I was here, yeah. Like the ABFF, Urban World, Panther Film Festival, all these different film festivals back in the day. And in one in particular, ABFF, I met John Singleton. And John was a big fan of my film. And we maintained a relationship over the years. And I was trying to get episodic television, and it took me over a decade. From the day I said I want to get episodic television to getting my first episode was about 11 years. And that opportunity came from John Singleton. He said, I'm gonna give you a shot. And as you said earlier, you show up, I'm gonna give you a shot, but once you get that shot, it's how you handle it. If you're an athlete, if I play football, you give me the ball, I know what to do with the ball, but I gotta get the ball. So once you get the ball, please know what to do with that ball. You know what I'm saying? You can say what you want to do all the time, and in this day and age, if you can say you're a writer or a director or producer, you're all of them now. It's all. You need to incorporate skill sets that allow you to keep moving. And because technology has advanced so much, you don't really have to wait for anybody anymore. Back when I was coming up, you had to rent the camera, buy the film, you know what I'm saying? Shoot, get the film processed, pay an editor $50 to $100 an hour to cut your film. Now you can do everything from your phone. So that minimizes a lot of the obstacles that were there before. Technology has allowed you to, hone your craft to shoot as much as possible. So I would say that maximize that, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make shitty projects. Just make it a point to learn from these projects. Don't think you can write something in a day, shoot it, put it out, and think it's Oscar worthy. Be honest with yourself. And surround yourself with people that are honest with you. If you're around people that always think everything you do is great, they're lying to you. You know what I'm saying? Find somebody like, man, I hate this motherfucker because he always rips my shit apart. But ripping your shit apart is what makes you better. You gotta constantly break yourself down to be built back up. So my transition to episodic television, like I said, John gave me my first opportunity, and after that led to other opportunities. But every time you get an opportunity, you step up as if you never had an opportunity before. One of my mentors said to me, every time you direct, you should direct as if you will never direct again. It's the last. If I never direct again, what am I going to do on this one? Meaning you never take your foot off the gas. You never take anything for granted.
Let me ask you something. Do you think as a director that, like, we have a thing, Pamela and I, I'm sure you do, Simone, I'm sure you guys have a mandate at Proximities. Do you believe that, like, directors too should have, like, what it is they do? It's not just I do action films. It's about the kind of films you do. What are you trying to say? Do you think there's something?
Well, it all depends, because like an episodic, you don't know what your script's gonna look like till you get it. So, which is why it's a great training ground, because your craft is always expounded, because you're around craftsmen that have thousands of hours of craft that they share with you. Be it a DP, be it an AD, be it a production designer, be it a casting director. So you're always learning different things. So your skill set is getting, elevated every time. You do go along and find out what your strengths are, but as an episodic director, your goal is to be strong in every aspect. So that when you get a job, like you may get a job that, okay, this episode is thriller based. So I have to figure out ways to amplify the tension with thriller. This episode is action based. So how can I amplify the action through stories? Story is always a foundation. That's the biggest thing, guys. Understand and learn story. Learn story. Be able to discuss story with a cinematographer, with an AD, with a production designer, with anybody, an actor, anybody that you are working with, understand story. When you can discuss story, that kind of equalizes things. It allows you to work with someone who may have won an Oscar. So that you may have won an Oscar, and I may be a new director, but we're talking story. You all can meet in the middle of that.
So Carl, to that point, right? You said now more than ever, everybody has to kind of be everything, right? Everybody has to sort of be hyphenate. But I would almost say, just sitting here thinking about, we talk about Spike, we talk about some of the greats who have influenced our work. is it true that now you have to be more than ever, or you always had to be, especially when you say you have to know story? Because I think that was one of the most enlightening things for me as an actor jumping behind the camera, was then understanding just, Pamela, you said this earlier, the intricacies of how all of it melds together, and you need to know all the departments. So then I asked, like, specifically for yourself, like you just said, an episodic director, you don't know what that script is coming in, and you got to talk to all the different departments. I would imagine, like, some people look at a director and think, oh yeah, you're just, you know, giving commands, this is your vision. But no, the more you know all the different departments, would you agree that that only enhances your job and makes everybody's job that much better?
Absolutely, because I mean, they're always trying to put you in a box. This person does this. And your goal is to not have a box. If they can't put you in a box. Well, they only do procedurals. No, I do this, this, and this. They only do comedy. No, I do this, this, and this. So any box you see being put around you, shatter that box. Somebody says, oh, you're just a dramatic actor. You do drama. Go do a comedy. Oh, you just do comedy. Man, go do a musical. Do some dancing. Shake it up so that they cannot put you in a box and they cannot figure you out. You know what I'm saying? You can't figure out. But so today I say that because of technology. I mean, you can literally right now say, I'm going to create my own studio. I'm going to have 3 different shows on my YouTube channel. And I'm going to be Universal. I'm going to be Paramount. And you can do that today because of, once again, social media, the internet. Internet didn't exist back in the day. You know what I'm saying? So you had, the gates were 15, 20 feet high. So if you didn't have a way to get in, around, or under, you had to figure it out. But now you can totally have an entire ecosystem outside of the industry that is directly adjacent to the industry. So having a knowledge of all these different departments only helps fuel that.
Let's talk about something. So we're in a really strange state right now. We're in a strange climate. Hollywood is shifting. I always say, and Carl knows, we talk about this a lot, we're in a cycle, right? So right now, it feels really downtrodden. Everybody's energy's low. People are not working. People are feeling like they got to move back to Ohio, wherever you're from. I'm serious. There's a lot. Hey.
Yeah. Speak on it.
I saw some of y'all leave early. But there's a lot of that for real shit going on. So just know, let's talk about the climate, man. We'll start with you, Simone. From your point of view as an exec, what do you guys see?
Yeah, I completely agree with looking at it as a cycle, not a shift forever. When I started in the business, I feel like it was the boom. Like, people of color were in vogue. It was like any job was yours. Like, oh, we're gonna green light, green light, green light. And the older executives would tell us horror stories about layoffs and things that they had experienced before, and we were like, dramatic elders, And now here we are, and we're like, oh, this is what they meant. And I think, for me, it's like, it's the importance of working somewhere like proximity, I feel like the work that we do is more important than ever, in a climate when people are censoring creatives, like, there's less opportunity in all of that. I think just doubling down on what you came here to do is how you persevere, and finding those ways to continue creating, even if it's like outside system, adjacent to it, so you're staying sharp and staying ready, as we've been talking about, for when the pendulum goes back the other way.
Which you can always write yourself out of, which is what Carl was saying a moment ago. Pamela, as you notice, we have a bunch of actors in the room. Let's talk to them for a second.
Ooh. That's a whole nother show. I'll do the episodic version.
This is about giving them game, though, to help them. So let's talk about it.
I'm just playing. Like I said before, I'll just piggyback on knowing the business you're in. You know what I mean? You can't just say, I'm a good actor, I'm going to do this role. I'm telling you, on any given show for one role, I've seen 50 people. How do you separate yourself from the other 49? Is what I say. Why should I pick you to go to callback instead of these other people? Well, I say the first thing, good is not good enough. It never has been. Great is the only thing that gets my attention. Awful gets my attention. Okay, I put a pin in it. I may go back to it. I may not. You get what I mean? Always strive to be the best actress, the best actor you can possibly be, because you got to keep my attention. One of the stigmas of being an actor, and I kind of always say this anytime I speak to actors as a casting director, actors used to always get so upset when a casting director isn't looking at them and gawking at them the whole time they're doing their
The good old days when you were in person, right?
Well, we're kind of back sometimes, but know that we do it so much. I can tell when you walk in the room if you're going to be about something. Just by your stature. Your audition starts in the waiting room. How you prepare for this audition, the confidence. We see all of that. I can't shut it off with my family members. You know, I see people walking around, I'll be like, oh hell, here we go. You know what I mean? Because you can't, I see behavior all the time. So I say, know that your audition starts then. How do you excel every step of this audition to make sure you stand out? That don't mean go do purple hair. That means that nuance in that character. Do that one thing that's hard to do. Because every other actor is just going to do enough to be okay. I'm not going to remember you. That one actor that paused in that place that ain't no pause in that. You know what I mean? I'm going to look up and see what's happening. And be like, oh, okay. Even if it's not what they want at the end of the day. I need to know that you have levels. I need to know that if the director, as Carl can probably attest to this, you want an actor to do something, I got to make sure that actor can complete that task. He's just not one note. So just be your best actor. If you only study for a little bit, you just learn the lines and think you're going to run in there and get the role, there's an actor out there who's been working on that day in and day out. While you was thinking you were cool, they still working on their material. They're still trying to bring nuances to that character. Understand what your competition is. As I said at the beginning, know the business you're in.
For you transitioning from talent to then sitting on the other side of the table, because I know that was like an eye-opening experience for me. Sitting on the other side of the casting table
It was a lot.
was like, oh.
Oh my God.
Oh.
You see all the mistakes, don't you?
Exactly, yeah. Please speak to some of the eye-opening, discoveries you've had.
Hilliard has been in the room. Now here, I'm actor friendly because I was one. I know what y'all go through. I know what it feels like. That's why I chose not to do it anymore. I was like, I'm done with this. I already had some series. I was on a soap. I'm cool. You know what I mean? I say, what did you ask me your point of?
Well, I just wanted you to speak to some of those discoveries because I think, sometimes you'll be on the other side of that lens. You have 1,000 things in your head of like, oh man, this or that or blah, blah, blah. When you sit on the other side of the casting table, you start to realize, like, to Carl's point, know every facet of the business. Yeah, talk to some of that.
What you didn't do is basically, like I said before, you didn't do enough work. Because if there's something, what if they flip it on you in there and say, less angry? Were you ready for that?
Yeah.
More angry.
Yeah.
Was you ready for that? Player calm and nonchalant. Was you ready for that? You need to know all of those so that anything they throw at you, you're free. You can throw the other choice away right away and move right on into that one. You know what I mean? So don't get locked into who you are sitting. That's what I learned after I became a casting director. Now I cheated because I came from theater. I came from Broadway. We get one take. We fall, we get up and we keep moving, because I sing dancing out. We fall, we get up and keep moving, just like it was in the script. Well, take that into your acting. You forget a line, you shouldn't, but if you do forget a line, remember what happened, so that you can maintain the same, subject. You can stay on page and get back to your lines. We're okay with that.
Can I just add to that?
Sure.
I was going to say, I was an actor too. I was a triple threat, all that. And the funny thing is, now that I'm behind the scenes, and I've sat in, I don't know how many casting sessions, I don't know what panel projects I've done on my own, probably 102. You know what I mean? Like a bunch. And that's because we do callbacks for that role, and I've done over 34 projects. You can just imagine how many I've sat in. So here's the thing. Here's what I've said, and some people know, like there's a part of me that kind of wants acting in a little bit. Don't tell nobody. Shut up. I'll tell them Walt this the other night. But the funny thing is I think I would be dangerous now because of what these two were just saying a moment ago. Now that I've sat behind the camera and watched you guys audition and seeing the flaws, the person who walks in the door usually walks in like Pamela said, and I'm like, oh, they got it already. They just booked something last week. They come in with the energy. You know what I mean? Like they just have a thing. You know what I mean? What you think about that, D? You agree? Say yes.
But you know what?
Can I speak to that energy?
Yeah,
Let me say something real quickly to the actors out here. First of all, and not just the actors, but the writers, everybody in the industry, you have to accept a very strong fact that nobody gives a fuck about you. You have to believe and embrace that. And I say that because you have to strip yourself down and say, okay, I believe in me. And let me pour into me. Let me hone my skills so that I'm so dope that I'm undeniable. Be undeniable. So as they said, as a director and we're casting, believe it or not, y'all, we rooting for all of y'all. Because when you come in here and nail a role, that's one thing I can check off my list of 20 things I gotta do next day. Having to go back to recast and say, okay, I gotta get another group of people because we haven't found what we're looking for. It's more work on everybody's plate. So when you come in and don't come in assuming like we're rooting against you. We're not rooting against you. We want you to come in and kill it. Now, that being said, what I learned from watching some of the greats, they build worlds around the character. Meaning, in an audition, they build a world around that audition. It's not just the context of that page or two. They're coming in, here's where I'm coming from, here's where I'm going to. So they're adding little things that gives you a whole different elevation of performance. And that's what you're competing against. So you want to go in a room and blow somebody away, you give them something that's not on the page, but takes the things off the page. So that when they're done looking at that tape, because rarely are you auditioning in person now, which makes it even more vital. Because you can get got by an amazing audition and they get on set and they can't do shit but what they did on the audition. So you gotta make sure that I can show you in this audition that I am malleable, that I give you variance. I can give you a roller coaster all on one page. That's what they're looking for. And that's how you move the needle. And that's how you go against somebody that has more credits than you and you blow them out the water. Because at the end of the day, sometimes they want the names. And that's just the political landscape that we're in. Sometimes they just want somebody that's good. Is going to jump off the page. We're going to believe that has that inner life spark. The inner life spark starts with you doing the work by yourself when ain't nobody watching.
But you know,
let me just say this last
okay,
thing.
no, go
Let's
ahead.
piggyback. It's the same thing for you writers. It's the same thing. If you are writing one script a year, you ain't writing to me. Like, that's real. You should at least have an outline, a pitch. Like, you should have several other things going on. Because, believe me, if I'm a working writer and I'm doing it, I'm your competition, right? If Lena Waithe has time to still write 3 scripts while she got a show, bitch, you ain't doing something right. You know what I'm saying? I'm serious. That is your competition. You guys are being, I'm not saying anybody in particular, but people are being lazy. Like they think, oh, I wrote something. Like, and, you know what I mean? Now you got to show this, what's the other side of you. You know what I mean? So just be thinking about that.
Well, no.
I was going to build off that really quick and just add on the writing front that it's essential, because if I liked, as an executive and a producer, if I liked what you wrote, the first thing, when I sit down with you, my first question is like, what else are you working on, right? Like, literally, you will not be ready for what that script unlocks for you if you aren't continuing to write and work and doing that on your own. Like, you just won't be ready.
And then just last thing, you guys are all here.
Hold on. This was gonna go back towards her. I know, tell her.
Piggybacking off of that. Piggybacking off of that, all of you guys are here. How many of you guys have a short film in it right now? How many of you guys have a movie for it?
Yes.
How many of you guys have a movie script for it? For the short film. See what I'm saying? That's a piggyback of what you're talking about. You might be here, one of us might go see your film and be like, oh, this is amazing. Do you have a feature for this? No, I wrote it as a short. See what I'm saying? So that's goes to that. That's all.
Are you good? What do you mean? No. Simone, this is going to lead to you because I was going to push this question in your direction, and it was sort of just to piggyback off of what Carl said. Is like, you say no one gives a fuck about you, and you're absolutely right. It's one of those things where going back to the statement of how do you provide value, right? One of the most enlightening things for me as an actor, again, sitting behind the casting table, was like, oh shit. Yeah, it's one thing just to come in and be great, but like, what is your interpretation of the character? And I think this speaks to more what Carl was saying earlier, is like, when you get those sides, not all the time you get to read the entire script, you only get the pages. And as a now writer, I understand the flow of why I'm writing the scene. And so sometimes you might get a supporting character and you think, oh man, I'm a supporting, or I'm just a co-star or whatever, so like I come in and do these lines or whatever. But there is an importance of why your character was written. Your character is in service of another character, whether it's the main, whether it's supporting to move the story, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, to speak to Carl's point, the more you know the different departments and the reason why all of this is working, the more you know story, then you can also know how to build that world as an actor. You can understand, okay, well, what's the scene before? What are the context clues at the top of the scene and at the end of the scene? And if you know there always has to be a scene that is leading somewhere, the story somewhere, there's no wasted scene. So even if you got 2 pages, you have to know that this is important. There has to be an arc somewhere. Are you the one delivering the arc? Is it the person you're reading opposite? And you need to find that. So my question, long form, goes to you, Simone. From your level, you know, over at Proximity, whether it be directors, writers, actors, whomever, you know, how are you evaluating people coming in? You know, when they're bringing content to you, like how are you basically sifting through and knowing like who has it, who sees the vision, who's ready to play ball, or who can be of service? How do you go about that process?
I would say I'll start on the material front because that's where it starts, right? That unlocks us sitting together in person. I think like POV, right? Feeling like this is a very specific story. Like I want to feel like these characters have history. This dynamic is like, ooh, they were fighting 2 years ago before this script even came to be. Like I want to feel like these are living, breathing people on the page. Like for me, it really does all start with character. Like there's so many great ideas out there, but if you can't execute them on the page, which is bringing them to life through these people that are experiencing them in your story, it's kind of a non-starter. So like, my team and I will be like, we get giddy when we read a great script. I'm like, I was cracking up on page 7. I run out of my office like, did you read this yet? You know what I mean? And like, it's infectious. So we love what we do and we want to feel like we have someone who is passionate about the story that they're telling and that they live it, you know, and that it's coming out of their rib. You know what I mean? Like it has to really come from you in that way. So I think that's really what we're looking for on the page. And then I think when you're in person, part of it's passion and a deep understanding of your story, right? So television takes a very long time. So when I'm talking to you about the script that I read, I want to feel like you're going to have this same fire in 5 years when we finally get on set and shoot the first shot of the show. So like that's really important. And even if you don't have the answer to every single question, it has to feel intentional and thoughtful, right? So again, the script is kind of just the beginning, especially in TV. It's like when I'm bringing you in, I want to know what's next. Hopefully, well, for sure, you got into the room because when I got to the end, I wanted the next episode or the next page. So when we talk about it, I need to know that you've thought about it. Like it's going somewhere, you have a vision, you have something to say with it. So really having that fire and understanding for what you're doing, not just writing the script about me coming of age because everyone has to have one of those. You know what I mean?
So before we open this up to you guys, let's see if this is a short panel today. I was going to say, just speaking to you producers, we're in a time now where writers' rooms are smaller. The writers' rooms are smaller. The amount of people that are in the rooms, the amount of episodes that you guys are getting is small. So you guys have to be preparing yourself. It's no longer where you guys get on the show, you guys are automatically producing your episodes. This is why these short films and these feature films and these indie films are important. You have to be getting yourself ready. So when you are blessed to get on a show that happens to have Carl Seaton directing your episode and they tell you you're going to produce your episode, you're ready, right? It's not foreign to you. You've been on the set before. It's familiar, you know what I mean? So I'm always encouraging all my mentees, you guys should be doing shorts, you should be on those sets, you should be moving around departments to learn how they work so you can communicate with every department. It's important. Go ahead.
I have a question for the audience. How many people went to business school?
I did.
All right, I see you. All right, shout loud and proud. There's a reason why I bring that question up. And everybody has sort of echoed this in different sentiments, but like, oh damn, how we doing back there? You good? No, I'm kidding. Everybody has sort of echoed this in different sentiments, but like one of the biggest revelations for me within this business was stop treating it like art and it is a business. Yes. And that was probably like the biggest eye-opener for me. Like, if I went out and started to try to sell t-shirts tomorrow, finding out how to design the t-shirt. Well, I gotta go hire a designer, et cetera, et cetera. Now we gotta go source the material, go find out where they make the t-shirt. You know, okay, well, how many are we doing in quantity, et cetera, et cetera. So then I think about it from the perspective of somebody who's just making artwork. And if he came to me and was showing me this dope artwork, well, yeah, that's cool, but can I sell this? You know, and the only reason why I break it down to a commodity like that is, again, we are in the business of selling things at the end of the day. We are making art and we're passionate about it, but the dollar has to move. People have to get paid, we have to fund this thing, and your investors want to make a return. And I think, like, once you actually go out, you guys are filmmakers in here, so I think you all know, once you go out and make a project, then you start to realize why these pieces matter. And it's not just about you walking in the room and giving a dope performance. And I don't really have a question for you. That's just more of just a statement of continue to know the business, and I think it only helps your art and helps you to be put in a position to showcase your art.
So we got about 10 minutes. We're gonna open it up. Quick, my man right here.
Yo, much respect and love for coming out. First question would be, as an actor who's also now producing and writing a lady here in filmmaking, what's one thing y'all have learned that you wish you knew earlier when you first started out? What's one of those things that I feel like so many of us maybe are making the same mistake or making certain things that we could do better? What's that one gem for y'all that you can share with us? Appreciate
Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. A lot of us get so constricted trying to say, this one's got to be a home run. I got to knock this shit out the park. If I don't knock it out the park, I'm a failure. Give yourself grace. And embrace failure. Embrace the failure. Seek joy in failure. And just make sure, like, okay, what did I learn from this fail? And that's how you get better. Don't wallow in it. Don't go through the feelings. That's another thing. Don't deny how you feel from the failure. Don't deny how you feel from coming up short. Say, I didn't make it, I didn't win, I didn't succeed. Let it go through you. Because you try to deny it, it's going to lead at you another way. But embrace that and ask yourself, okay, what did I learn from this? How would I have done this differently? And apply it the next time. You get better and better and better.
I would say, piggybacking off of that, is accepting the pivot and the yes. You know, every time I've said yes to something, like I was telling Simone earlier about how I went to work with Ben Watkins, that was his #2, right before the strike for a year, and the things that I learned and the shows that we developed, like Cross, you know, and stuff like that, and how, had I not have said yes, if Pamela wouldn't on my ass, the things that I wouldn't have learned, that I got to staff 2 shows, like all these different things that I got to experience, had I not said yes. And the old me would have said no. You see what I mean? So sometimes you gotta go, well, I'm a writer-producer, what am I gonna do being an executive? You're gonna learn a whole other superpower if you do. And that's what I embrace. You know?
I have one too. I have a practice I do even today. Every day, you should do something that moves your career forward. I don't care how small or how big. Every day, you should be able to end your day saying, this is what I did for my career today. It could be the smallest thing. It could be the biggest thing. It doesn't matter. I make sure every day that I'm blessed to open my eyes, I do something that has to do with my career. Keeps you moving.
I think mine is ask the question. I think there's been so many times, even when I got into scripted in the early days, I'm like, oh, I should probably already know that, I shouldn't ask. This is the youngest you're gonna be. You're only gonna keep going. So, and you'll look crazier asking in 2 years in your next job. So ask now, get that understanding, whatever it is. Obviously there's a time and place, you know, you have to have some discernment, but don't be afraid to ask that question and gain a deeper understanding for whatever it is that you're curious about or that you don't know.
I got one more thing. Do not be afraid to move in fear.
No.
Not be afraid. If you're scared to do something, do it anyway. It's okay if you're doing something like, I'm scared as hell. Do something terrified. And moving in it. And you realize, like, okay, this is uncomfortable, but I can do it. And get comfortable being uncomfortable. This business is built on discomfort. So get comfortable being uncomfortable.
I'm not saying this to sound like the asshole of the room.
But
But, no. I'd say this harshly, and then I will clean this up with love. Not everyone is going to make it. The reason why I say that is because to the advice that everyone is given here, cumulatively, every single day, you have to love this thing. You have to, because it doesn't make sense on paper. It really, it doesn't make sense. Not at all. This doesn't make sense. So you have to absolutely love it. And with that, like anytime you go to the movies, you're not just going for enjoyment. It may seem like it's fun and you're going with your friends, but you're studying. Anytime you're put in a room and somebody's standing across from you, it's an opportunity to shake their hand. And if God put you in that position, go shake that person's hand. You know what I mean? You absolutely have to love this and you have to treat it as such. That's why I mean, like, the more you continue to treat it as a business, then you will start to move yourself forward and advance yourself. Because as you treat it as a business, you have no choice but to level up your skill set in the process.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for everything that you all have shared today around just having really deep curiosity about the art and the business of it. I'm curious if any of you are looking for, thank you. I'm curious if any of you are looking for an assistant or an apprentice. I'm really eager to learn about the business in the art, and I'm happy to learn anywhere in that circle.
What is your superpower?
Yes, my superpower is I'm a storyteller, and more specifically, I think really understanding the why behind characters and what motivates them to do anything that they're doing on screen.
Anybody else?
Do you have any work I can see?
Yes, I have a short film that I wrote and I acted in that is in post-production right now. I can send you that application.
Let me ask you something. What's like the discipline you've enjoyed thus far?
The discipline that I've enjoyed?
Yeah, like the position, the discipline you've enjoyed thus far.
Definitely acting and writing, I think, because both of them really gives you an in-depth look at the character and what is moving the story forward.
If you only have one to do, which one would it be of the acting and writing?
I think it would be that acting.
What you don't want to do early on is nobody wants to hear a jack of all trades. You know what I mean? I always tell people, my mentees and stuff, pick one, excel at it, get good at something, and then branch out.
I'm gonna push back on that.
Oh, no?
I'm gonna push back on that. In
Here we go.
2025,
Now we're getting started.
in 2025, today,
Yeah, that's it.
I don't care if you write, direct, act, produce. Show me your work.
Oh, yeah.
If you have a real things to show me that are high level quality, that's the most important thing, guys. High level quality.
Yeah.
Because you have to do what you have to do to get it done. I've been a one-man crew on a short film. Well, I was the crew.
Yeah.
Did I want to do it? Absolutely not. But you got to do what you got to do. So I don't balk at a jack of all trades. I say, what have you been working on? You say, you have your short that's in post-production. Circle back when you have it done to show people. Because the apprenticeships and the opportunities will come. You have work to show folks. Because people take you much more seriously when you have something to show.
Yeah.
Even if you got a script, people will watch something faster than they will read anything. So you may have a bomb script of a feature, but here you go, this 5-minute short that is the embodiment of this feature. They'll watch that short. You know what I'm saying? So show that work.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
that wrong.
No,
No,
it's all right.
seriously, I did, and I'm glad you said that because I hear my wording wrong. I didn't mean you can't do the other things, but for me, even me and Hilliard, I've seen it a lot of times. People will bring me something, and I can see the mediocrity in each thing, and I have a hard time figuring out who you are. And I get what Carl's saying, because what he's saying is true. In this climate, you want to try it all, but I said at the beginning, as an indie filmmaker, don't hold on to the fact that you're going to be everything when you move forward. So I'm saying, pick one that is your superpower, although you can do the other things. Like I said, I'm not making an excuse, but I did word it quickly and wrong, is which one would be the one that you would do if you could only do one? Because that way, you know people automatically do that as their kind of attention. Even though a lot of people write because they act, or they do this because they do that, because they want to do this. So I ask that because at the end of the day, a person like me with no attention span, I'm like, I don't know what she is. You know what I mean? But film is good, but what does that do for you personally when they go to give you a job? Because they're not going to give you all of those jobs, but be able to answer the question. Don't make the film. But answer, be able to say, but
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Can I ask you these 2 questions?
Let me just say this.
Oh, we're cutting.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Go ahead, switch.
We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Okay.
I was just gonna add, it's easier to help you if it's one thing bluntly, like in a short form, like yes, do everything, but if I'm like, you want an apprenticeship, you act, write, direct, I'm like, which one's your passion though, so I can think like, do I know any actors who need an assistant, or do I know a director who needs, you know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I was about to
Cleaner,
say.
easier.
Where I was coming
Was
from.
like Micheaux and I, right here in front of you, we just did an episode on the podcast, episode 535, where we talked about the website and the archives, and what I'm looking for, I'd love to find a dope intern who really understands YouTube and social media. So that's why I asked you, what is your superpower? Because if that was one of those, I would have went, oh, Micheaux, talk to her. You know what I'm saying? So just be thinking about that. My man, and don't let me hear, and then we gotta run. I apologize.
Yeah, so first, my name is King Williams. A little different, man. I'm not narrative based. I'm in this festival for Black community. What's up with Denzel? It's rare someone who stick with you for a long time, but for short, you shoot videos. That stuck with me for a while. You kind of correlated back to what you were saying about, they'll put you in the box, right? So that's kind of did my architecture. I started out shooting music videos. And so when I saw that, it was like, yeah, like it's hard getting out of that space until you continue to do the work. The one question I have for all of you all is because of technology, what resources would you say is most important now for people to get to the next level? That's what I would post.
I'm gonna speak to that real quickly because thank you for watching that, by the way. It's a very personal project to me. Like, I love that project. Finding your audience. I met Will Packer, I think it was about a week ago, and I finally got to shake this man's hand and say thank you for something that he had, said on a podcast a while ago that really stuck with me. He was talking about his first film, Chocolate City, when he was on campus, and he invited every executive, Oprah, Tyler Perry, whomever, to come and sit in his audience, and nobody came. He had reserved that entire front row. I mean, he had this vision of all these jets coming and landing at the closest airport, and nobody came. But every single row behind it was packed out with people from that campus. And the reason why that meant so much to me is because when we did our premiere Brand New, which Hilliard was there,
Excellent film.
Pamela was there, we packed the whole audience. We made our own crowd, you know what I mean? And we started to identify
Social media
people.
went crazy.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It was like, I shot that script around. I was taking it to different places, trying to find a producer to come on board and be, get behind the project. And it was one of those things we had to do it on our own. And that's fine. I'm grateful to God for it. So You Shoot Videos is an example of that. Like, sometimes when you got to get it out the mud, who is your audience and how can you build that? How can you, if you're selling lemonade, what corner are you standing on and dishing that out? And can you move to another block and now you compete with the other person? It's not drugs, I promise. Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's the same sort of analogy. Like, find your audience.
Hi, my name is Tiffany and I'm a screenwriter. First of all, like that young lady, I'll run for work. I will talk to all of you after this. Won't take up all our time. But I feel like we're in this era right now with YouTube and TikTok, and there's just so much content. There's so many streaming services. Everybody's looking to push out as much as possible, as soon as possible, but it's not always at the highest quality. So for you who have made it in the industry and are here attending an event like this, what is the star quality that you're looking for in these shorts and in these features that you feel like will make it stand out from the deluge of content that we're constantly seeing?
Story.
Yeah,
Is the story being told? Some people think, story is, if it doesn't have a beginning, middle, and end, it's just something that, or it's just flat. If you can't see story, it won't stick out. It won't resonate. So I would say story is probably the biggest thing, because there's a lot of, because of technology, there's a lot of content out there that is disguised as content. There's a lot of bullshit out there. So you have to kind of, to rise above all that, it's elevated storytelling. Make sure that your story is showing a character arc, has a beginning, middle, and end, plot twists, and so forth, and just understanding story and presenting that story in a way that makes it digestible. That'll help separate you from other.
I was going to say, so Carl, you said something earlier about somebody sends you a short that's 5 minutes long or whatever, and you take time to read it, you guys got to know, most of us up here would rather watch your 5-minute, 10-minute short than to read your script. Because Pamela knows I'm a 4-hour script person. It takes me time. I'm giving you notes, I'm going to do it with a red pen. I'm like, fix this, fix it, don't have any quail, you know. I go through it. And so that stuff is really important. What I'm looking for in the script is a piggyback of what you're saying. Does it have a twist? Or does it have a heart? Heart is where we lean in. Heart is where we feel familiar. Heart is where we communicate with you guys in a way where it's like, that's relatable, right? So it could be dark, it could be you know, angry, it could be all that, but somewhere, it can't all be an action movie where it's going. Sometime you gotta slow down, right? So I'm looking to see how you pace the thing. I'm looking to see the first shot open, and we know this, we have our friend Chris would say he could tell first frame. As soon as you start, you can tell if the guy has control of, or the girl has control of this film. You know what I mean? So don't just be coming in flat. Think about cinematically. What are we seeing here? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So.
And thinking of it in totality. Like, I love older films. Like, I can't stand watching anything new. I don't know if y'all feel the same way, but it's like old films, there's just craftsmanship to it. You know, there was time poured in, there was love. There wasn't the opportunity, like Carl said. You didn't always have the chance to pick up a camera and go. You had to like revision, and then finally you get the chance to buy the film and you had to put everything into it. And I think sometimes now, especially with technology, like we're no longer treating it like a craft. You know, I think about it like music, especially rap in the current state of where music is right now. Everybody can record something at their house. But what happened to actually like writing lyrics, telling a story, to what Carl said again, you know, like as everybody has echoed up here. It's like you used to craft an album, a beginning, middle, and end. You used to have the love song, then you have the street song, whatever. You don't have that anymore, so just get back to like actually loving the craft and studying the people that came before you, because that's a better North Star than just picking up a camera and going. If you're going to tell the story, why are you telling it out? And if somebody's already told the story, which trust me, everybody has already told your story, then what is your point of view? What makes it different? How can you spin this to make sure it has staying power?
One last question, young lady.
Hi, my name is Aisha Moore, and I'm an actress. Through and through. But to kind of speak to what you guys were saying earlier, so many people have said, you gotta do more than that, you gotta do more than that. And I'm not getting the type of auditions and roles that I want. So just this past December, I went out and got a production team together and filmed something for myself. It turned out amazing. I wanted to show my reps, show casting, I can be a mother, I can do a period piece, I can do all of this. And I'm just trying to figure out from now, I have a concept of something that I want to do, something else that I can showcase as far as my talent. I don't think that I'm a writer, but I've been speaking with my writer friends and they're like, just start, just do it. You may not be a writer, but just try it. Don't let somebody else, I'm like, maybe I can co-write. I can tell you my idea, I can tell you what I'm thinking of in my head, but if I'm being honest, I don't think I'm a writer. And I guess for somebody like me who's really just trying to showcase myself in a different light, because casting is giving me opportunities, don't feel like my reps know me. Like, what should I be doing? Should I be trying to continue to put myself in a better light and create things for myself, or just stay in the work, stay in the play, stay in the classes, which I'm doing all of that.
I say do all of it, because all of it matters. You don't know which one is going to hit. You know what I mean? As far as what can you do for the roles you want to do, don't rely on somebody said the phone ring. I have never. We were signed to UTA for 4 years, and I still got most of our jobs. You know what I mean? Or we got most of our own jobs. So it doesn't change anything. You still got to do the hustle. I say, look for like student films and the free films, the ones that don't pay no money. I tell everybody all the time,
The thesis films, because those are the ones, those are the guys
those
who
are the ones they trying to, do those. Use them for tape and experience. I look at a lot of those, and because the raw talent is there.
And you can star in those films.
You know, and you can be you in those films, because a lot of times they're newer, so you're able to give creative input. So don't shirk no student film, don't shirk that $100 a day film, because I tell everybody, Halle Berry got an Oscar off of Monster. You know how much she got paid? Scale. Limited budget scale. You know what I mean? So
You kind of glossed over a very important superpower that you just shared with us.
yeah.
You just put together a film, correct? Do it again.
Yep.
And again, and again, and again. And the minute you get into that bag, and you're thinking about your projects, you'd be amazed if your team is going to start to navigate around you. You know what I'm saying? Creating your own lane. You know what I'm saying? You've done it before, so you have a proof of concept. You put a team together, you got everybody to do something, do it again. It doesn't necessarily be a bigger thing, it can be the same type of project, but just keep putting them out. And make that more of a routine for yourself. Okay, so I did one last year, I'm gonna do 3 this year, or I'm gonna do 2 this year. And just make doable steps, but keep doing that. And if, I swear to God, if you start focusing on just that, you'll be amazed if it calls you again. You know who's gonna be watching. You know?
I
We
have
see it.
something to share, if I may be vulnerable with you. You've read my scripts. Wait, hold on. You've read my scripts, though. Yeah. So Hilliard's read my scripts. I think the world of Hilliard as a writer. I think the world of Hilliard as a writer. He's a phenomenal writer. But there are times where I've told myself the lie of, well, I'm not a writer, so why am I doing this? Knowing damn well I've already done 8 short films. There's a thing that we do where it's like, oh man, well, I don't have that credit, or I haven't gotten this job, so I'm not that yet. Okay, well, fuck that. Okay, just write the project, write what you know, write it passionately. I mean, as an actor, like, one of our gifts is you're reading scripts all the time for different characters that you're getting. And so when you start writing, like, one of the discoveries for me was like, oh man, I know how to write a script better than I thought I did. Just because I'm used to reading them all the time, I know what to get from it. And you're almost like mimicking that, you know what I mean? So like, the reason why I share that with you is stop painting yourself in that box. And like Carl just said, like everybody just said, you're already doing it. So like, you're trying to prove your worth and value to an industry. Don't get me wrong. Go in every single casting session, go wow them, go do what you're doing, but you're already kind of setting yourself up for a better success where you can control your own lane. And I asked, does like, Issa Rae, would she have considered herself a writer when she was making The Awkward Black Girl, and then all of a sudden that takes off? Ask her the same question, does she consider herself a writer? Probably not. You know what I mean? Probably not at that time, but look at where she's at now. And you don't know where that's gonna lead you, and you're probably gonna sharpen all of your skill sets way quicker if you just continue to do what you're doing. It sounds like you're already on the right path. So.
You're totally doing the right thing, for sure. I'm sorry we got to wrap it up for you guys. We thank you guys. I know. I said I needed 2 hours. I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank all of my guests up here. Thank you, Denzel, Pamela, Simone, and of course my man Carl Seaton in the building. Thank you guys all for listening to tuning in with us. Please, everybody, right now, ScreenwritersRantRoom.com. Check us out. Micheaux built a beautiful website for us. We got a lot of stuff up there. We got resources. We got archives. We got
the people who ask questions, they need t-shirts.
Oh yeah. Well, I got some t-shirts for a few y'all.
Yeah.
It looks like this. You know, you're pretty Ricky with the collar. Shit like that. And thank you guys all. We have a brand new YouTube page, Screenwriters Rant Room. So please subscribe to the show. We're building it out. We got a lot of clips. People are here taking clips right now, so you'll start to see that stuff up there. Please give us a 5-star review. We need the metrics. Keep supporting the Micheaux Film Festival. I hope you guys got films out here. Meet people who are around you and all that. Any last words from everybody? Let's go down the list really quick. Any last words?
Last words. I know we're in a tumultuous time. There's a lot of pessimism out there. Honor it, acknowledge it, but just keep building your craft. You know? It's the things that you do when nobody's looking is what really matters the most, because that's your foundation. So keep feeding into and pouring into your foundation.
Simone?
That was kind of mine, but my way of saying it would be keep working. Your time will come.
I just want to say, don't forget, at some point, whether you look at us as successful or not, we were all you. Every last one of us sitting here have some story of yours. So that means what? You can do it too.
I think there's levels to it. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I can confidently say, like, I'm not where I want to be, but I also know that I love this thing, and I'm going to finish this out one way or another, so glory to God, you know, as long as I keep breathing, you know, I'm going to keep trying.
I'll just piggyback off of that. I just heard The Rock say something like, he's worth $1 billion and he still wakes up every morning driven because he loves it. So that's the only thing I can tell you guys is that's what should keep you going. Because you have to. People ask me, why not write? I say, because I have to. You know what I mean? So just find your love for this and your passion and it'll keep you going every day. So thank you guys again for tuning in. You guys know how we're doing on the Rant Room. On this show, we keep it real, we keep it opinionated, we keep it what, everybody?
Game all day.
Peace, y'all.
I'ma say what I feel, and I promise to keep it real. Welcome to the Rant Room.